Alright, so here are your notes over the first part of 7.3. So we're talking about triangle angle sums and trying to find missing angles that are within a triangle. So we have a couple theorems that we're talking about here. So this first one, go ahead and fill in the blanks with me. So your first theorem says, through a point not on a line, there is one and only one line parallel to the given line. So if, what this looks like in pictures, you have two lines, and you have a point on one of those lines, you have lines A and B. Then line A is the only line parallel to B through P. So basically you're just saying line A is the only line that can go through P that's still parallel to B, which makes sense. There's only one thing that actually works there. Then the next one, I think you guys already kind of know this one. We're just going to get a little bit fancier with the wording. The triangle angle sum theorem. So fill in the blanks with me. So, the sum of the measures of all the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. You guys know that. All the angles in the triangle add up to 180 degrees. So, in pictures, if you have a triangle here, triangle ABC, then measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C has to add up to 180. So that's the fancy way of wording it. A plus B plus C equals 180. So we're going to use those theorems to find missing angle measurements for triangles. So on this first picture, on letter A, here's where I'm looking. We're trying to find the measure of angle 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so I'm just going to go in order on this one. So angle 1, you got to ask yourself, okay, how the heck could I figure out angle 1 given the information that I have? So the nice thing about some of these is you can use a lot of the stuff that we've learned previously. For example, angle 1 and angle 1 and the one that's 57 degrees, they're actually a linear pair. Okay, so you have a linear pair, which means they add up to 180. They're on a line. So to find angle 1, I can take 180 and subtract 57 from it, which gives me 123. So I know that the measure of angle 1 is 123 degrees. When you're doing problems like this, it'll probably help you, I'm going to erase this, it will probably help you to write down the information you have on the picture so that you can know what you're doing. Alright, then angle 2. Angle 2 is over here, okay? The nice thing about angle 2 is it's in this triangle, KLM, alright? And we know the other two angles. So we can figure out the missing angle because we know all the angles in the triangle have to add up to 180. So for angle 2, I have 180. I'm going to subtract 71, and I'm going to subtract 57. You can just type that into your calculator. So that should leave you with 52. So I'm going to say angle 2 is 52 degrees. So I'm going to erase these markings that I made just to keep it a little bit cleaner. And now I know that angle 2 is 52 degrees. Fill in that information. Now, kind of the same thing with angle 3 over here. You have this triangle JKL over here. You know two of the angles. You can find that missing third angle by subtracting the two you know from 180. So for angle 3, the work that I'm going to do is 180 minus 123 minus 28, which again, you can just type into your calculator. That should give you 29. So angle 3 is 29 degrees. All right, so we found all three of those missing angles there. Awesome. Then looking at letter B over here now. All right, this one is more complicated, okay? There's lots of triangles in this picture and lots of missing angles. So on this type of problem, you can try to go in whatever order you want. I think the easiest thing to do is use the triangle sum theorem. So the theorem that says if you add up all the angles in the triangle, set it equal to 180, that's easy because then you can easily find missing angles. So the only triangle here that is missing just one angle, if you'll notice, is this one. There's lots of triangles, but there's one. You know two of the angles, you can use that to figure out that missing one. So I'm going to start with figuring out angle 7. So for angle 7, I'm going to take 180 minus 58 minus 65, which should give you 57. So I know that the measure of angle 7 is 57 degrees. Let me erase once again. And I'm going to fill in the information I know to the picture. So I know angle 7 is 57 degrees. So now the nice thing is, now that you know this piece of information, there are some angle relationships there for angle 7. Angle 7 and angle 5, for example, those are vertical angles, okay? They're right across from each other. That means they're congruent. So I'm going to say angle 5 is also 57 degrees. It's kind of crowded, but there it is. So angle 5 is also 57 degrees. You also know, let me erase some markings so we don't get confused. You also know that angle 7 and angle 6 are a linear pair. They're on a line. So to find angle 6, I'm going to take 180 minus 57, which gives me 123. So I now know that the measure of angle 6 is 123 degrees. All right, once again, let me erase some of my markings. All right, now, after I fill in the information I know, probably the next easiest one would be over here, angle 4. Angle 4 is the third angle in this triangle VWX, okay? So I can just subtract 57 and 67, those two angles I know, from 180. So angle 4, I'm going to take 180 minus 57 minus 67. That should give you 56. So I know that the measure of angle 4 is 56 degrees. All right, then the last thing you gotta know, this is the one that's maybe a little bit trickier. I'm just gonna erase all of that. So we know that angle 6 is 123 degrees. That should already be written on your picture. Now, how the heck do we figure out 8 and 9? Well, 8 and 9 both have these little arcs on them. Okay, that means they're congruent. So I'm gonna, since I don't know it, I'm gonna set up a variable. I'm gonna say this is x and this is x. So if I know that the sum of those three angles adds up to 180, I can write an equation. I have 123 plus x equals 180, which then, if you combine your like terms, you get 123 plus 2x equals 180. You can also just think of it as you have 123 plus this angle twice, which is how we end up with that 2x, or multiplying it by 2. So then I would just solve that equation. So I'm going to subtract 123. I'm going to move this over here. So I end up with that 123 cancels. I have 2x equals 57. Then I divide both sides by 2. And I get, after you plug that in your calculator, 28.5. So I know that both angle 8 and angle 9 are 28.5 degrees. And remember, you can have degree measurements that are decimals. That's fine. All right, then the last couple examples. So on example 2, all you're doing is finding the values of x and y. So look at this picture on letter A here. Let's start by finding x. Here's x. You know that x is one of the angles in this triangle. Again, look for the information that you know. That's going to help you figure it out. I know that angle T up here is 32. I know that this angle is 78. So to find x, I'm going to subtract 180 minus 32 minus 78. Again, you can just type that into your calculator. So that should give you that x equals 70 degrees. So now you know what x equals. Then for y, here's y. You don't know this third angle up here in that triangle. So using the triangle sum theorem is not going to work. But y does form a linear pair here with that angle right next to it, 78 degree one. So to find y, I'm going to take 180 and subtract the angle I know, 78, which gives me 102. So I know that y equals 102 degrees. And that's that. Then moving on to letter B. So again, look for the one that you have the most information with. If you look at letter X over here, it's that third angle in this triangle. There's 3 angles, you know 2 of them. So to find X, I'm going to take 180 minus 57 minus 59. And again, just type that in your calculator. So I know that equals 64 degrees. So I have X equals 64 degrees. I'm going to erase my markings so that we can keep this clean. So 64 degrees. Then how the heck do we get over to Y? Well, these 2 angles right here, they're vertical angles. Remember, vertical angles are the ones that are right across from each other in an X. They are congruent. So I know this angle is also 64 degrees, which is going to help me figure out Y. Okay? Because now you have this triangle on the left side. You know 2 of the angles, so that means you can find the third. So to find Y, I'm going to take 180 minus 42 minus 64, which is going to give you 74 degrees. So I know that Y equals 74 degrees. All right, that's it for today. We will finish this section in the next video, and then there will be an assignment on Pearson.